All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We don't have a big group right now, but seems like everybody just jumped in about the last 2 minutes. So hopefully we'll get a few more people going. And this mid-season meeting, one of the things we want to do is I just want to throw out a couple of items, and then I want to leave it pretty open for questions that people have, or things they're seeing around the state, or whatever it may be. And let's see if we can figure some things out and go from there. Like I said, there's not a lot of people right now, so if you have your video on, that's fine for now. If we happen to jump up quite a ways, I'll ask you to turn that off, and then make sure that you're muted, and unless you want to talk. And like I said, there's only 4 items that I really want to address and talk about. Number one, remember that sportsmanship was one of our big things, especially for the NFHS. And one of the things I've talked about and with other officials throughout the state this year is, use the cards that you have available if you need to. You've got the yellow card, you've got the red card. Don't keep warning and warning and warning. At some point, you got to use that yellow card. It's part of the game. I don't know that we've had any red cards this year, but we have had yellows. The other thing too is contest reports. If I'm letting some people in. If you do have a problem at a school, please use the contest reports, which you can find on Arbiter. Fill those out, and we've had a few contest reports, and the schools have been contacted on that, and it's for the most part taking care of business. The second item that I wanted to talk about was fans. If you have unruly fans, and for whatever reason, I'm seeing the fans getting a little more riled up this year than they have in the past couple years, and I think it's because we're all getting back into it and everyone's kind of getting comfortable, and so the fans have become experts in the last couple of years. And should you have that, don't address it yourself. You can shut the game down and call in whoever you checked in with at the facility, so the facility supervisor, and have them take care of it. But don't address fans yourself. Okay. The other thing, we've had several schools wanting to do special events between the second and third set. And remember, between the second and third set, you're only supposed to have 5 minutes in order to do that. So if they really do have a special event, just say, hey, we're not supposed to do it between second and third set. It's 5 minutes. If they still go on with it, then that's, again, you write a contest report. But schools, I think, have been told now that if they have those special events, at least the ones that we know about, they're going to try and do that stuff before the varsity match, just like they do a parents' night or senior night. And then the last thing is, while officiating, make sure you get the big ticket items. For instance, if someone's overlapping by 2 boards or 3 inches, work with them, through the coach to get them back, because at that point they're probably not gaining an advantage on that. And so work with the coaches, and if the coaches aren't working with you, then maybe one time you do have to call it, but try to get the big ticket items and keep the flow going as much as you can. I see that we have Doug Goodman. Doug, you want to say hi? Southwest coordinator. And Doug, do you have any other items that you want to throw out at this point?
Hello, Wayne, and everyone else. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. It's a pleasure to be with all of you again, and I hope we get a few more people. But an update from Southwest Minnesota is that the season has gone, at least from my perspective, very well so far. We've had good cooperation from the teams and coaches as they've adjusted to a few things like the warning whistle for warm-ups. They've been able to adapt to that pretty quickly. We still deal with a few things like, the kids sometimes forget the jewelry. Sometimes like to have their audio devices out on the floor while they're shagging balls, not major things, but working with the coaches on that. They've been very receptive to any of those items when addressed, but the quality of play has been good. We've had some great matches. Haven't really heard from any other officials regarding any unusual situations or areas of concern. We do have, and I think this is across the state, shortage of officials. I think this year has been more of a challenge to scramble around. We had a local official get in a car accident. We had another one that broke her leg or had a conflict, got sick. It's been a scramble, but we've been able to work closely with the State High School League and providing some names, master lists that's been helpful that we can kind of contact the regional officials. And with that being said, we've been able to cover them. It's been kind of close at times, but we've been able to cover the matches, and it's worked out pretty well. So if there are some Southwestern Minnesota officials, I know Bob Wesley from Redwood, Wabasso area is on this evening. I don't know if he has any things he's seeing more east of Marshall, but he works a lot in Southwest Minnesota also, and really been a real positive fall season thus far. And I think everybody's having a good season. I think our crowds are back. Our crowds are excited. It gets pretty loud in some of these smaller gyms when it goes 5, which we've had a few of those. So it's been, from our perspective, a really good start of the fall season and midway through.
Good. Thanks, Doug. And we also have Tristan Severson here with us. And he's actually on his phone. And so I'm going to ask him if he wants to throw out anything, and it'll be a little bit noisy in the background for him as he's attending his daughter's last soccer game of the year today as well. So Tristan, anything you want to throw out?
Just a couple things. Can you hear me, Wayne?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, welcome. Thanks everybody for being on here. You kind of alluded to one thing that we had here in our area was the request for an extended intermission between sets 2 and 3. We had 2 different schools down here that wanted to do a 10-minute intermission, and we had to advise those 2 schools that, just like you had mentioned, make sure that it can only occur before the match, even if the teams agree upon it. We got to use a little bit of common sense and our best judgment there to make that special event in between the 2 sets. And then one other thing I know we had early in the season with a school or 2 was some schools refusing to put down tape on some of the lines where the end line or the attack lines intersect some of the basketball lines. Or the 3-point lines and some of those basketball lines. They've not wanted or allowed to put down tape, which I understand is not a big deal, but we still need to fill out our contest reports for those and send those off to the league as well. So those are a couple of the small items that we've had in our area. But kind of just piggybacking off of Doug there a little bit, overall, a lot of positive stuff and some good fans in the crowd. So that's what I got to share for right now, Wayne.
All right. Sounds good, Tristan. So anyway, those are kind of the big items that we wanted to cover. We wanted this to be for you, a chance to throw out items and see if it's happening around the state or what we can do to help you. to finish out the season. We're getting close. Believe it or not, we're beginning of October, and November is going to come quick. So we're gonna leave it kind of wide open here for questions, and if you'll just unmute and ask a question. And not saying I have all the answers, but I think we can come up with something.
Hi, Wayne. This is Nettie Homer.
Hi, Nettie. How
I'm
you
out
doing?
of the Bemidji Association,
Yes.
and I probably should know this answer, but I don't. So because different teams do it differently. The 15-second warning, what
Mhm.
should happen?
Okay.
I blow the whistle. They have at the 15-second mark.
Yep.
What should happen?
Okay. So you double whistle at that 15-second mark, and then between sets it's at 30 seconds that you double whistle it. They still have that next 15 seconds, to continue, but we're telling them now you need to be done after 15 seconds. So it's, can they get in one more quick rally, if they're playing across the net or whatever. So they have until that next, let's say at the 10-minute mark that they have to give up the court at that point. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think it's I don't know. I thought it was that they could get one last maybe hit in, and then they would get off the court so that at the 10-minute mark, the other team could start. It still seems to me like they're not leaving and the other team still falls behind. It's 10 seconds. It's not a big deal, but that's just what I witness.
Right. And the 15-second is a warning so that they can get off at that time. And so,
Okay.
so if you need to step in as R2 and say, hey, you're down to 5 seconds, feel free to do that, and maybe in your pre-match, talk about that. Hey, I'm going to blow the whistle with 15 seconds at 10:15, let's say. That means that you are supposed to be getting ready to get off so that the other team can take it right at 10.
Okay.
So use your pre-match for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have?
Hey Wayne, it's Leon.
Hey Leon, how you doing?
Good.
I you know what? You and I talked about something, and why don't you throw it out there? Because I can't remember it all.
Sure. Well, I was going to start and just say I'm kind of a import from North Dakota and where I've been reffing for a long time, and I have to say that the reception in Minnesota, the fans and the people saying, thank you for reffing and stuff like that is just, I don't see that in North Dakota. Everyone's much nicer in Minnesota, I guess.
Well, good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Go, Leon does officiate over in North Dakota, and he works with me in Minnesota as well as North Dakota. But go ahead, Leon.
So the situation I've run into a couple of times now in 2 different tournaments that I've worked is where there's some confusion with the libero replacements. They're getting into a situation where the libero, they're rotating to where the libero would be going to the front row. But rather than having the libero come off for a play, what these teams are doing is they're having the player that needs to come into the match to go to the front row swap places with the player that's in the middle back.
Right. Which it's kind of funny, Leon, we talked about that, and I just had it happen Thursday Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. I just had that happen as well after we talked about it. And yeah, so we need to make sure that, that you're checking that the libero or R2 is checking that and make sure that the libero replacements are correct and so forth. And then the other thing is maybe talking with your table and telling them, hey, if you see something I don't, please help me out on that. So, but yeah, they're not coming out for that one rally that they're supposed to be. They're going in for that, could be the left back or middle back. So, yeah, so we got to make sure that we get that taken care of, if you're seeing that around the state as well.
Yeah, and it was teams from a couple of different areas of the state, a little bit. But because obviously they can do that when the libero is going back for the server, but
right,
not back into the middle back. So
not
just
into the
something
middle.
I saw.
Correct. Yeah. So we just want to make sure that as R2 we're checking that and making sure that their libero is doing it the correct way. So thanks, Leanne. Anybody else want to throw something out?
Wayne, this
Yes.
is Loretta Bethea from Rochester area.
Yep. How you doing, Laura?
Doing great.
Good.
Quick question about using balls prior to the coin flip. Can teams be on the court warming up prior to the coin flip with balls?
I don't see that there's anything. I mean, we don't have anything written down
Right.
for that. So, but I at this point, I guess I would say yes. I mean, if they want to send the team out there and start warming up prior to the 20-minute warm up, that's going to be okay. Now it's going to be different once we hit sections and state play, but regular season, we don't have anything that regulates that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, because quite typically that's when the teams want to do their run in, right, and do the coin flip, and you'll see them run in, and they got to have the music all queued up and all that.
Yep.
So, yeah, Laurel, I mean, great question. I haven't seen it down here in the Southeast, but I would echo Wayne's sentiments where, allow them that extra 30 seconds to a minute, however long the coin toss takes, get them out there and get going.
Yeah, we did have a situation. That's why I'm asking that, the team just came out. They didn't want to run out. They didn't want to do anything. They just wanted to get on the court. They were warming up with the balls, and the other coach was questioning, could they have the balls at that time? So that was what we ran into. So thought I better ask.
Yeah. And like I said, at this point, we don't have anything that regulates that. Not until we get into section play.
Sure.
And beyond.
Okay. Thanks, Wayne.
Yep.
I think the easiest way to clarify confusion on that 15-second warning during the timed warm-ups is just telling the coaches, just like 15 seconds before the timeout expires, it's a courtesy that we're whistling that to give them a heads up. They don't have to run out and conclude their timeout at that 15-second whistle. It's just a courtesy to give them a heads up. And I think when we put it in terms like that, that kind of helps alleviate confusion.
Sure. And I think that's why I was saying that, if you throw it out there during your pregame, that could help alleviate some of that confusion too. So, thank you.
Hi, Wayne. Jared Freudenberg here.
Hey, Jared, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing well, doing well.
Question for you on like a blood situation. So
Yep.
you have a player that dives, and they have a little blood on them, and a coach immediately takes timeout. And then in the timeout, they notice the player's bleeding. So the timeout runs out. Can you grant 30 seconds after the timeout, or does that have to be done prior to the timeout?
Oh, great question. Jump in here, Doug. I haven't had this one.
Well, what I can tell you is that if you see someone with an injury, and blood is part of that, of course, you immediately stop play.
Right.
If there's medical personnel, of course, hopefully they're close, but you then beckon the home coach and give them permission to go out and address their player, the injury, the blood. At that point, let them deal with the injury or the blood. Of course, if they can't be moved, there's no hurry to move them. You then pretty much stay back, assess the situation. When it looks like things have kind of been or being addressed, then of course you have the responsibility of determining to start the clock for an injury. Blood is the same as any regular injury. But then once you address that with coach or assistant coach that is dealing with the injury, then your clock automatically starts for your timing period, which of course, again, if they can get back out on the floor without any issues, they have that 30 seconds. They have the ability to stay in the match. The coach, of course, can sub, which in the most part with blood, that's what they do. But you can't let that go too long. You have to make that decision when needed so that you don't lose if there's momentum on one side or the other. Obviously, we're all concerned about the safety of that player and getting them with the right people dealing with the situation. But I don't believe you can add any additional time on. Another 30 seconds or anything like that. Again, it's pretty well cut and dried in terms of any kind of injury, and of course, which relates to the blood. So I think I covered that, but if there's some things you guys want to add, please do so.
Yeah. So Doug, I think he's asking that the coach had taken a timeout and they're over at the benches and now there's blood there. So at the end of the timeout, do you give them another 30? And so I'm looking here as well. Jared, right now I'm going to say, I don't think you give them another 30. They need to be substitute or replaced.
Okay. Cause that's, I didn't see anything in the case book in regards to it. So I wasn't certain because and I had this exact same situation happen where setter dives and then they lose the point.
Yeah.
Coach calls timeout. In the timeout, they realize you're bleeding. So they're trying to tape her up and get her ready to go.
Yeah.
And then, she's 15 seconds away. Well, what do you do?
Right. Yeah. And,
because
I
we
wish
didn't know about it prior. Nobody knew until the timeout.
Yeah. I wished we'd have found it before, then made it easier. Cause like how Doug explained it, we have that in place, but,
yeah. So fortunately the coach subbed her out. It wasn't a big deal, but it was one of those, like, what if that would have been, big time moment where, she needed to play.
Right. Yeah. So, and Jared, what I will do, because we're coming out with a mid-season, recording, however you want to say it, that we're going to send out. And so I will, double check on that with the blood after timeout and we'll just address blood in general as well as that situation you just gave me.
Okay.
So that's a great question. You get the first stumper, Jared.
Put it on the board.
Put her on the board. Yep. Perfect.
Wayne,
Oh, hey, Bob.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing? And everyone
Whatever
else?
you.
I'm just good. I'm going to just chime in on that. Obviously, in that situation, take a look at it. If you feel like they're going to be wrapping it up within another 5 or 10 seconds with the tape or the Band-Aid or whatever,
Yeah,
I'd let it slide. If it looks like it's going to be another 30 seconds to a minute, they
yep,
either need to sub her out, or they could take a consecutive timeout and buy their time that way too. So,
yep. And
You
you
know.
know what, Bob, I would totally agree with you on that.
if it looks like she's going to be out on the court within another 5 or 10 seconds, and if the opposing coach has an issue with it, what we've always kind of said in the officiating ranks, coach, if the situations were reversed, we'd do the same thing. We would afford the same opportunity for you as well.
Yep, exactly,
Hey, can I
exactly.
chime in on that pre-match? In the 30 plus years that I've been officiating, I don't think we've really ever had a situation where we've let the players on the court while we're doing the pre-match conference.
Right,
I guess if it would be a situation where they want to be on the court and maybe do some stretching and something like that without balls, and kind of what I equate it to is when we have a pregame conference for girls fast pitch, we never have pitchers warming up or players throwing the ball around the infield and stuff like that too. I know we're talking apples and oranges between volleyball and softball, but kind of use the same philosophy. So I guess I'm not in agreement with that or 100% comfortable with that you've got volleyballs being hit back and forth while you're trying to meet with coaches and captains.
right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
if it would be a situation where they want to get on the court and maybe do some, agility work, footwork, some stretching, that type of thing, probably okay. But I really think we need to wait until the pre-match conference is done with captains and coaches before they hit the court and start hitting the ball around.
Yeah, and I'm not going to disagree with you, Bob, right now, and I'm not going to disagree on them being there either.
Right. There's nothing in the book that you could refer to that they can or can't be. So
Yeah, and so I'm gonna that'll be one of my jobs this week is to look up that, and then also with the blood after timeout. I don't. Again, I agree with you on that too. I mean, if they're going to be just a few minutes or a few seconds, we're going to let it go. But yeah, no, I'll check into both of those.
Can I ask a question in regards to, this is Carol from Southern Minnesota again.
Yep, hi, Carol. Yep.
We've got good momentum going on the game. It's getting good. And then the team will ask, can we wipe the floor up with a towel?
Yep.
How long do you give them? And then what I'm finding out is I step onto the court because, they're talking. They act like they're trying to pick here or clean up here, dry here. They're talking what their strategy is because they've run out of timeouts.
Yep.
This is so how long and how often do you allow, to allow this? Because it could be 24-24 and, it can go back and forth like this.
Yeah, I get it. And you know what, that's going to be up to the official at that point. If you think they are delaying the game, then give them a delay warning and go over and talk to the coach and say, Coach, we can't keep wiping the floor up every play. I understand the player, going down on the floor and getting it sweaty. I understand that, but
is it possible for us as officials, we could walk up to where they're wiping and make sure they're not talking strategy? Can we do that?
Yes,
that's what I've been doing. I've been walking up and saying, come on, ladies, we need to hustle here.
Yep. Yes, you can, because that comes under safety. And so you have every right in the world to check that floor.
Yep. Okay. And then stop them from strategizing of because what they're doing is I got 4 heads down facing the floor, but they're really talking about how to handle the next play. Right. Because they want to try to get that point. And I'm like, ladies, come on, we got to keep moving here.
Yep. No. And yeah, and definitely if you believe it's a delay tactic, you can, go over to the coach and talk to him and say, hey, coach, I believe this is a delay happening, and so we can't have it anymore.
Hey, Wayne,
Yep.
it's Leon. I
Hey,
was
Leon.
just gonna throw out there that in college, we're told that we should always be there when they're mopping up the floor. And that's probably just for that purpose.
Sure.
Try and keep it from that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, we are definitely allowed to go on the floor.
And isn't it amazing that it's only on one side of the net and not on the other side of the net where the floor needs to be wiped up?
Yep.
Exactly, exactly.
Coincidentally.
Yeah. And that's why I say use your tools. And because if they do it once and then they do it twice, then it's going to cost them a loss of rally. So. Good discussion. Anything else you want to throw out?
Wayne, this isn't specific to volleyball itself, but I was hearing a conversation with another official that had been related to him from an athletic director. Is there a push by the state high school league to start using arbiter pay for our officiating fees? Anything that you've heard or are aware of?
Okay, I can tell you this right now, okay? Right now, it is up to the section secretaries to decide if they want to use arbiter pay. So it is optional right now. And so, for instance, in section 8 where I'm at, we are using arbiter pay for volleyball, but we're not using it for football. And I think some of that has to do with how comfortable whoever is running the section tournaments are with it. Because here in section 8, I run the section 8A tournament. I've used arbiter for many, many years, so I know we're going to use arbiter pay. Football, no. So right now it's up to the section secretaries and who they have designated as running the tournament.
Are you referring specifically just postseason?
Postseason, yes.
Okay. My understanding from this conversation was that there's a trend it's being looked at that arbiter pay may be required even for like regular season from the schools.
I don't know if I don't know that that's being pushed by the state high school league. I think some of that is because I've talked to schools up here in Northwest and they're asking me how easy it is to pay on arbiter pay. And so I think some of it is the schools are getting on board with doing it electronically rather than having to write checks or whatever. And you know what, you look in the metro area and many of, I think most of the metro is using arbiter pay right now. So, and I don't know what the Southeast is doing. Tristan.
I was just going to jump in your way.
Yeah,
it's getting to be more of a trend, upward trend. I see it becoming more of a commonplace thing. I would say 30, probably closer to 40% of our schools are already utilizing arbiter pay, and
Okay.
frankly, I think it's just the simplicity of it. It's easier for them to track. So to answer your question, Bob, I can't speak on behalf of the state high school league, but in our area, southeast side of the state, it's getting to be quite popular, and I would imagine within a handful of years it'll be where majority, if not all, the schools will be utilizing it.
Yeah, I think it's just the way we're headed, Bob, and you know, we were just talking about it I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago with me and a bunch of different guys up here. We remember going to some schools and them handing us an envelope with cash in it,
Oh, sure.
you know, for getting paid.
Yep.
And yeah, and then it went to the checks, and then that was a big deal because if your partner wasn't the one who could make it, I might have Wes Knutson's check because he couldn't make it that night, and then I would take it to the bank and cash it. And now the banks won't let you do that. And
Correct.
so yeah, so I really think we're headed that direction. Just in general, I think we're headed that direction.
And has your experience, Wayne or Tristan, has it been positive? Has it been okay? Worked out?
You know what? And Tristan's the same way. He gets paid through Arbiter Pay for college football like I do. And yeah, I mean, the money comes into my Arbiter Pay and I transfer it over, and but I spend less time driving down to the bank and depositing the check.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that. And one thing I like about it is once you get on there and the pay's been submitted, you can go right in and look at the game number, and it connects up to your Arbiter thing, and you know that you got paid by that school. It tells you what school and the fee and all that. So yes, I do like it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything? Okay, well, if we don't have anything else, good luck the rest of the season. We're more than halfway there. We're getting close to playoffs. You know, it's overall, I've heard good things across the state about how the season's going, and it's a little more normal than it has been in the past. And I do know that we're struggling for officials. That's a you know, that's a huge thing across all of the sports, and so I'm encouraging you. The State High School League is encouraging you all to see if you can find one person you can pull in per year, and I know it's not easy. I get that. You know, so I think we're gonna. I hope we don't get into crisis mode, but I think we're kind of headed that way if we don't find some new young officials and even mid officials. So you know, please keep working on pulling people in, and I wish all of you luck the rest of the season. And again, if you know, if you guys have questions throughout the year, please contact your local coordinator, email me. You know, we all tend to get back pretty quickly if people have questions. So anyway, good luck the rest of the season, and stay well, and we'll see you at some point down the road.